Okay. We're going backpacking. This time a little bit longer. And it's going to rain the entire trip. So there's that. Okay, so this one works. These are solar lights. And I like them for camping because if you put these in your tent, they came from Sam's. You just get like good ambient light. You can put them around your campsite at night. Okay, all three work. And then you can charge them. A little bit heavy. Definitely not an ultralight backpacker. Wait till you see my pack. I tried. I'm backpacking with my daughter. And, you know, we carry the heavier stuff, right? We carry the load. In this video, I'm going to share a story with you as I take you along to see the wild ponies with us. We're also going to do some wild foraging on the property here for things that are only available for a short window of time. And on this trip, we learned a very valuable lesson. It was such a great reminder. A reminder that no one is going to come and save you. And as harsh as that sounds, it was the truth. We got into a situation. We assumed that somebody would be able to get us out of it, and it turns out that wasn't the case. We had to step up and learn some things and do some hard things and just be reminded that no one's going to save you. And there's this layer of self-sufficiency and sustainability that we need to be comfortable with in the world we live in. And it's easy to forget that in this world because things are so easy. And when the situation came up, that's what happened. We just kind of defaulted to someone will come and save us from this situation instead of realizing we needed to step in and be prepared to take care of ourselves. So it was a great reminder. I hope you enjoy this story. Thanks for listening. So our biggest problem . 3 days, 30 miles, stopping wet. Okay. Currently, like double what I carry in weight. So this should be interesting. So heavy, oh my gosh. So where we went on our trip was Grayson Highlands, and it was absolutely gorgeous. This was a mother and daughter's trip. The rain came, so half of the group who had younger children did car camping, and the other half of us with a little bit older children went on a backpacking trip. And it definitely was a wet and cold experience, but it was still so beautiful out. But what happened on this trip is on our way up, about halfway, we lost cell service, and then we got a flat tire. And my daughter flagged over a truck, and these two lovely gentlemen who were so willing to help us stepped out, and they looked the part. They looked like they were mechanics. And by that I mean they just had outfits on with grease on them. You could tell they were coming from work. Their truck was obviously a work truck where they were actively involved in manual labor of some sort. And so we just sat back and were so grateful to be rescued. And about 30 minutes later, we started to realize that something wasn't right. There was a lot of banging and hammering and finding unique tools that didn't belong in the car. And that's when we started to realize that they did not know how to get the spare tire out from underneath my friend's SUV. And we started to realize like we needed to step in and handle this situation. And so we got the owner's manual. Remember, there was an owner's manual for a while there. We were really, quite silly. We were trying to think if we could only Google how to do it. And they were like, oh yeah, there's that book that lives in the glove box, right? But it was something we haven't used in so long. We have been extremely reliant on our phones over the years. And so it did take us a minute to realize, okay, we've got what we need to do this. And so we busted out the book and we were able to take over the situation and get it under control. Now, all that to say, super grateful for these gentlemen who were willing to help us, and they did not abandon us. They stayed there and made sure to be a helping hand, even if they couldn't figure out how to do it. And so super grateful for that. But it was a reminder, like, there isn't anyone who's going to save you. It goes back to one of the reasons I felt called by the Lord to homestead and grow some of our own food, because that was the message that was put on my heart, that it's our responsibility to, of course we can't sustain everything and we need community, but we need to not be reliant on these systems that have become so easy and so comfortable, and not question them and put all of our trust in them, because there may come a time when someone's not going to save us, when those systems aren't going to be there to provide for us. And then what? We need to have tools and resources to be able to step in and take care of ourselves. So I loved that we were able to have this reminder. I loved that we were able to experience this with young ladies who could see that at first we just kind of, handed over all of our power and assumed someone was going to save us. And we learned a hard lesson from that. And then we had to step up and to do hard work. And they stepped in alongside of us. And it was just a really great learning experience. So we finally got on the trails a little after 4, which is pretty late to be trying to climb up to set up camp. But we did it, and it was absolutely gorgeous out there. We got to see lots of ponies, and the first half of the trip was pretty dry and even a little bit sunny. But as we climbed higher, we definitely climbed into the clouds, and we ended up ultimately camping in the clouds in the rain, which meant we also needed to make sure we had ways to take care of ourselves and had the right gear and used the right tools to make sure we stayed safe, because it's very easy to get too cold and not be able to get your body temperature down in situations like this. But we did it, and the views were incredible. And you can just see the higher up we got, the more dense the cloud cover was. And we found a little nook in the forest under the trees where we were able to set up camp and set up a tarp. And although we were very wet, we were able to stay dry enough to be safe and keep our gear dry enough, at least for this first day. On day 2, as we were hiking, it poured like the biggest rain I've ever hiked in, and it's impossible to stay dry in rain like that. We were sopping wet. Even though we had things to protect our gear, there was still water dripping into things that were crucial to keep us safe. Our boots were completely saturated. So we were able to spend the night in the forest the first night, and we were headed to spend the night the second night and get our camp set up, and we got lost. And that ended up being just the Lord providing safety for us, because after the rain, we had one child who had to be wrapped in a warming blanket to stay warm, and we were just sopping wet. And it became dangerous at that point because our gear was so wet. And getting lost led us straight down to where our friends were car camping, and we were able to set up tent in a little bit safer situation with them, with the base camp. So we were able to experience one night of extreme hiking and extreme weather, which was really cool. We learned a great lesson on self-sufficiency, trusting that we have the skills, using the resources we have to stay safe and provide what's needed for ourselves. And it was just an amazing experience and a great reminder that no one's coming to save you in every situation. So it is up to us to have some level of preparedness. So here I'm back on the property and I am actually planting ramps. So ramps grow wild in our area. They are a wild garlic. I think they're in the onion family, and they're very popular in this area, and we have them on our property, but it's in a spot that's not easy to see them and to navigate to. So I went ahead and purchased some at the local farmers market, and I'm putting them in a spot on our driveway that we frequent often. And for the next couple of years, I won't harvest any of these. I will just let them get established in this area so that we have access to them indefinitely moving forward. And homesteading and providing for some of your own foods and medicines, it is a long game. This is not something that will come together quickly. It takes planning, and it takes forethought, and it takes patience as we get these things in the ground and we allow them to establish themselves. But then the end result is that in a few years, I will have all the ramps that we want. We'll be able to harvest as many as we need for the year and can dry them and put them away. And ramps or wild garlic, they're just an excellent flavor. They're medicinal, and they really ramp up, no pun intended, recipes and just bring in the true flavors of nature. And on this day, I was just spending some time putting eyes on the things that grow wild here to see how far along they are in the development phase. I also harvested a ton of wild rose that we'll use in teas throughout the year. It comes in quick and it leaves quick with all the rain that we get in the spring. It's just hard to keep those rose petals intact very long. So wanted to make sure we got our year's harvest of those, and doing whatever we can to make ourselves a little bit more self-sufficient. We are blessed to live in an area where there's a lot of wild foods and I have space, but I know that's not the case for everybody, and that's why I use things like the towers, because even though I do have a lot of space, it's actually not ideal for growing a lot of food that we want to eat, the things you can buy at the grocery store. And here's the other reality of growing your own food. It can be messy, things can get out of control, and they need to be put back together. But what I like to do is just take one step forward and try to do 1% more every single day. So I was able to get the rose petals off the stems and separate them so they can dry properly. These are so beautiful, and they add so much medicinal benefits and just actual pleasure to teas and things over the winter, especially when these things aren't available. It's just a reminder of spring. And some nights homesteading means you work into the dark hours to get all of the things done, and that's okay. It's a worthy cause to know that we can take care of ourselves, and when no one is going to save us, we have a plan in place. And if you want to learn more about the systems I use, I will put a link below. I've got free ebooks, but I just find ways to grow food in any space I can. And that means using some more modern systems like the tower gardens, or in here I'm using this boom room too to grow my own mushrooms. And honestly, I don't want to be a farmer. I tried that. I do want to move into possibly some dairy sheep and some other things on the property, but I'm not interested in acres of farm and having cattle and all of those things. I just want to have simple, sustainable ways to put food on our tables. Easy ways, easy things to manage. Yes, there's work involved, but these aren't things where I have to become a farmer and be out in the fields all day long to grow our own food. And thankfully, we live in a time where we don't have to do that. There are systems that we can use to grow food that's way easier and provides so much abundance. And that is my specialty, finding ways to grow food using simple, sustainable systems that provide an enormous amount of food for the least amount of work and resources possible. Here is where we keep our long-term food storage and just make sure we have provisions available so that if we ever need anything, we have it. If we need to share with someone else who doesn't have the things they need, we have the resources available. And I just pray that the Lord guide you on your homesteading journey or on your journey to grow some of your own food at whatever level that may be. Whether it's just a few pots on a patio or a single tower to take control over your lettuce and your greens and your herbs, or if you move into a larger scale like I am, trying to do as much as possible. Whatever level you're at, I just pray the Lord blesses you on your journey, and I pray that the information I provide here not only gives you the knowledge on how to do it, but encourages you and gives you the inspiration to do it. Because someday there might not be someone there to rescue us. There might not be a grocery store to make it easy for us to have access to food. And honestly, the more that I learn about what's going on with food and the changes that are being made around food and the bioengineering, the less I want to participate in those systems anyway. So thanks for watching this video. I was able to get all the chores done, the garage clean and put back together. God bless you on your journey. I'll see you on the next video.